Hey everyone, welcome to Wealth Redefined. I'm your host, Michael Reynolds, certified financial planner and owner of Elevation Financial. You can find me on the web at elevationfinancial.com, as well as pretty much any social platform out there. So today I'm going to teach you how to start a business for less than $1,000. So you want to start a business. Maybe you want to earn more money, maybe with a side hustle. Maybe you hate your job and want to do something you love. Maybe you want to take control of your time. Maybe it's a combination of things. So many people dream of starting a business, but they never quite get it off the ground. There's lots of reasons businesses never get launched. One is fear. It can be scary to think about starting something on your own, especially if you've never done it before. It can feel like there's a lot that can go wrong. Costs can also be a factor. Many people have the belief that starting a business requires lots of money. That's not true, by the way, at least not always. A lack of time. Starting a business can take time. That's often in short supply these days for many of us. Lack of knowledge. Sometimes it can be hard to know where to start and what steps to go through to start a business. It's usually a combination of these things. So personally, I've started and in some cases sold multiple businesses, and I am here to tell you that it doesn't have to be difficult or expensive to start a business. It's hard work. And it's definitely not easy, but I'm going to walk you through today how to start a simple service business for less than $1,000. I want to make sure that this is very accessible. I want to make sure that I'm helping you kind of understand the steps to start a business and how to keep costs very low and remove that obstacle of cost and lack of knowledge to starting a business. So let's first start with what type of business to start. So I'm going to make some assumptions here. So first, my assumption is that you will be starting a simple service business. So these steps won't apply if you're launching a retail store or a restaurant or some kind of tech app that requires investors, something fancy like that. So we're not talking about any of that stuff. We're talking about something that you can get off the ground quickly and start making money fast, something like consulting or something creative, some kind of service you can provide just with your time and expertise. Maybe a home services business, something that you can just do with your time and deliver it very easily with no inventory needed. So I love service businesses because they can be started with very little upfront cost. In contrast, a product business can be very costly to start up. You've got manufacturing, sourcing, physical locations, shipping, other logistical elements of selling products or retail, things like that. But a service business can be started with a laptop and an internet connection. And so we often think about modern businesses as being virtual or high tech or some of the flashiest examples are tech companies, but some of the best service businesses that make the most money are in boring industries that are very low tech. So if you're looking for some ideas, I do have an article on my website called My Favorite Easy to Launch Service Business Ideas. It is linked from the article version of this podcast. So if you want to go check it out, you can search my website for easy to launch service business ideas, for example, and you'll find it very easily. Got a whole list there. I keep it up to date. I add stuff every now and then. All right, so let's talk about the steps to go through. First step, form an LLC and get your EIN. So once you have an idea for your business, the next step is to form an LLC and get your EIN, which is your tax ID. LLC stands for Limited Liability Company, and it's a type of business entity that's ideal for most service businesses, honestly. It's really easy to set up and maintain. It's got low reporting requirements, low regulation. It offers flexibility for tax treatment in the future. Just a really good overall great entity for most service businesses. So you don't have to form an LLC from the start, but it does have some advantages, including you establish credibility. You can send a message that you're a legitimate business. You have limited liability, as the name implies. An LLC can protect you from liability by shielding your personal assets from any claims against the business. And you've got flexibility. Like I mentioned before, an LLC can also elect to be taxed as an S Corp in the future, which can have some tax advantages. So setting yourself up with an LLC from the start can give you some flexibility in the future. So forming an LLC is not very difficult. I'm assuming you're a single owner business, meaning it's just you. And in most cases, you can go to your Secretary of State's website and do it all online. So to find the site, do a search for, your state Secretary of State. So for example, I would search for Indiana Secretary of State. And that will lead to your state's website where you can form the LLC. So when you get to that site, look for links like business services or start a business, and that'll get you to the right place. If you can't find the right place or you're just not sure if you're there, send me a note, podcast@elevationfinancial.com, and I'll point you in the right direction. I'll help you out. So before starting the process, be sure to do a search for the business name you've chosen to make sure it's not already being used. You could do that. Excuse me. You should be able to do that from the same state or same site you're on, but you can also do a search for, your state business entity search, like Indiana business entity search, and that should bring you to the right tool. It also never hurts to do a search with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, which is uspto.gov. And that's a way to make sure your business name is not trademarked. You want to make sure you don't name your business something that's already trademarked as well. So the costs for an LLC are going to vary state by state. Some states are as low as $50. Others, like California, can be in the hundreds. So it depends on your state. Most states are on the lower end. There are a couple states like Massachusetts and California, for example, that are much higher. But for the most part, they're pretty reasonable. And in most states, your LLC should be active within a few days after you file it online. And then you'll want to get your EIN. So the EIN is short for Employer Identification Number, and this is your tax ID for your business. It's a good idea to have an EIN so you can keep your Social Security number private when you're doing business, and it also helps you establish that credibility. And you're also going to need the EIN for certain things that might be relevant in the future, like hiring employees or starting a retirement account. So you also need it to open a business bank account, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So getting an EIN is free and very easy. You go to the EIN information page on the IRS website to get started, which is irs.gov/EIN. Very easy. You'll find the application. You'll fill it out using information from your LLC. And then in a few minutes, you'll have your official EIN letter as a PDF with your new tax ID on it. So keep that letter and file it somewhere. You're going to need that often in the future. Next, open a business bank account. Next step in your business. Once you have the LLC and the EIN, you want to open your business bank account. This is really important because it helps you separate your business income from your personal income. It makes bookkeeping easier because it's very clear which transactions are business versus personal. It's also really important to keep your business and personal activities separate to preserve the liability protection offered by an LLC. So a business bank account ensures that your finances aren't commingled, which can weaken the legal protections of an LLC if it's ever challenged. So make sure you keep that separate. So there's lots of options to choose from, but I recommend choosing a business bank that offers a few key features. One of them is strong tech and integration. So you want a business bank that has great online banking, a great mobile app, and that it integrates with other software well. So check reviews and see which banks have good reviews for things like, good integrations with other software, great technology. Also, make sure it's free checking. There's plenty of options for free checking in a business bank account, so no need to pay for a checking account. It should be free. This one is the most important, in my opinion, free ACH. It's often overlooked, but you want to be able to transfer money out of your account through ACH, which stands for Automated Clearinghouse, which is an electronic transfer. And ACH is how you're going to pay yourself. It can also be necessary for other types of transactions, so you want this feature in your business bank account. You want to be able to have free ACH electronic transactions to transfer money out of your account. Look for that. I like online business banking providers, the fintech companies, because they usually check all the boxes. If you're having trouble finding the right bank, send me a note again, podcast@elevationfinancial.com. I'll give you some of my favorites at the time. I'll give you a list of things, possible banks to choose from. Next step, fund your business account. So the next order of business is to fund your business account with enough money to cover some basic startup costs. So you don't need much. You're trying to keep this under $1,000 total. So a couple $100 should be enough to do the trick and get you started. Your business bank should let you link up an account to fund it, or you can write yourself a check and deposit it using the mobile app. Next, domain and email account. Now it's time to get your basic online presence set up. The initial step is set up a domain name and a professional email address. So the domain is the something.com that your website's going to use. And then your email address, you want to be, your name at something.com to make sure it's professional. So some of the top registrars I like to use to register domain names include GoDaddy or Namecheap. Those are fine. You can pick those or any one you want, but those are the ones I recommend generally. And once you get your domain name in place, it's time to set up your email. I like Google Workspace, but Google Workspace and Microsoft 365 are both fine, depending on your preference. They both work great. They're low cost. They're less than $10 a month for a single email account. And they also give you calendaring and cloud storage. So either of those two would be fine. I'm a Google Workspace fan personally. So get your domain name, get your email address through Google Workspace or Microsoft 365. Next, you want to get a logo. A logo is pretty important because you're going to use it on your website and just general stuff. So there's lots of stuff you can do around branding, but a logo is kind of the minimal thing you're going to need just to have visual credibility. So you want to make sure it's, something decent. Keep it low cost at this point. I'll say this: a professionally designed logo done by a real human is very valuable. But when you're more established and can afford it, that's the time to do it. Right now, we're keeping costs low. We're just getting off the ground. So there's a couple of routes you can go to keep it very low cost. One of them is to use AI. So there's lots of AI logo design tools out there. If you do a search for, AI logo design, you're going to find some tools out there. They'll be very low cost, less than $100. You can fill in some basic information and get a simple AI logo designed. Or if you want to spend a little bit more, 99 Designs or similar sites can be a great way to get a logo designed. They generally work out pretty well, pretty good quality. You've got options to choose from, and it can be a few $100s. So keep that in mind. Be sure you get a complete set of files with your logo. This includes a web-ready version of your logo, which will be a PNG or a JPEG file, and vector files, which will be either EPS or AI files. .ai files is typically what you see. Make sure you get those two different versions so you can use the logo in any medium you need to. Next, set up a website. You need a website, something basic to establish credibility and tell people what you do. Keep it low cost at this point. Use one of the DIY providers. At some point, you're going to make more money. You can hire a professional. That's a great idea. But for now, we just want to get off the ground. So use something like Squarespace, Wix, Weebly. They're all fine. They're going to be around $25 a month or so, give or take. They let you quickly choose a template, put a basic website together very quickly. And you want to not overthink it at this point. You probably need, the following pages: the home page, the about page, services and pricing, FAQ, which stands for frequently asked questions, and contact. That's all you need. Those 5 pages, basically. So don't overthink it. Just do something simple. Put some content in there. Use some stock photos from Unsplash, which is a free stock photo site, and get it done in an afternoon. Just get the site up and running. Your logo is already done, so your logo is going to look great up there on the site. You're going to have a well-established, simple website that establishes credibility for you. Next, set up your bookkeeping and billing system. You need to get paid. So 2 of the most popular tools for sending invoices and taking payments are QuickBooks Online and Wave. So I mentioned QuickBooks Online because it's the leader in bookkeeping and invoicing. It's the standard, but it costs something, and not everyone finds it easy to use. If you do go with QuickBooks Online, a lot of accountants recommend not using the self-employed version. So you want to buy the next version up, not the self-employed. I like Wave. Wave is a great alternative. It's free, and it does bookkeeping, and it does invoicing and billing. You can activate online payments so that your clients can pay their invoice online, which you definitely want to have in place. So consider Wave. Waveapps.com is the site. And again, it is free. So it's a great way to get up and running with bookkeeping system, which you can worry about actually using later. The main thing I want you to do is just have a way to take payments online, deliver service, invoice your clients via email, and there'll be a button there where they can click and pay online. That's lowering friction to getting paid. So we want that in place. So either tool is fine, but Wave is a great free way to get started to take payments. Now, we've reached the end where it comes to profit. Guess what? You're in business. You've set up everything you need to establish a business entity, communicate with clients, and get paid. So the total startup cost of all this stuff should be less than $1,000. The exception would be if you're in a state with a high LLC registration cost, like let's say Massachusetts or California. They're anywhere from $500 to $800. But in general, here is kind of a breakdown of the cost of everything we talked about. LLC registration, aside from those exception high cost states, I'm going to say $50 to $300, somewhere in that range. EIN is free. Business bank account is free. Funding the bank account, let's say $200 to get started. Domain name, $12 a year. Email, $10 a month or less. Logo, anywhere from $50 to $300, depending on how you get it done. Website, $25 a month. Bookkeeping and payments, free if we're using Wave. So all in, we're less than $1,000 typically, or like I said, if you're in California, a little over $1,000. But in general, we've started a business, everything we need to hit the ground running with the infrastructure in place to take payments, got a website, got a logo, got the entity set up for flexibility in the future. We are all set. We are ready to go. So as you can see, the startup costs can be minimal, so don't let cost be an obstacle. The most important thing to remember when starting your business, honestly, is simply just take action. Get started. Don't get bogged down in overthinking. A lot of people think they have to go through all these steps and all this planning. But the most successful business owners I've seen are the ones who can make decisions, take action, and get things moving without a lot of analysis. Is planning important? Absolutely. I'm not discounting the value of planning and thinking and strategy, but it should not be used as an excuse to avoid getting out there and serving clients. You'll learn more by actually running your business and doing the work than through all the studying and the planning in the world. So, if you're ready to start a business and you're worried about the startup cost, use this guide to help you focus on exactly what needs to be done to get your business off the ground. And you can do it for less than $1,000, give or take. All right. As you can tell, I love entrepreneurship. I love helping people start businesses. So I'm always happy to answer questions about this. You can find me on the web at elevationfinancial.com. You can send me a note through my website. Go to the contact page, scroll down a bit, you'll see a form there. But above that form, you'll see a calendar where you can actually choose a time for a complimentary money session. So if you want to chat about anything we've talked about or want to consider working with me, feel free to use that to book a meeting, and I'm happy to chat. And I can either help you with your questions and or talk about working together. Either one is totally fine. So with that, thanks for joining today. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.